Hello, everyone. Welcome to Word Funk. Take 2. I'm Leon Thomas. I'm joined by Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. We fixed our audio problems. You didn't have to listen to it. So we're just going to jump right in to the thing I want to know
we
about.
We did it much quicker, too, than last week. Last week was an ordeal, I'd say. This was just a kerfuffle.
Yeah, we reduced the kerfuffle, and now it is done. Yeah. And Johnny
not even a shenanigan.
Johnny can tell us all about his adventure as like a small town boy.
Yeah, that's right. Come up here and sit on Uncle Johnny's lap, everybody. Those of you who are of age. Anyways,
wow.
So this past weekend, all right. This past weekend, I'm one of those few people that was actually like ridiculously blessed to go to high school with people that I want to keep contact with. Because I recognize that there's a lot of people in this world who, when they go to high school, they're just kind of like forced to be friends with the people who are like the closest estimation to someone you might be friends to if you had a choice. You're like, you resemble somebody that maybe I could get along with, so I guess we're friends now.
Wow, most of the people I knew in high school, I wouldn't even know whether or not they're dead, and some of them, I hope they are. So, cool.
Yeah, but you understand that whole concept of like, friend by necessity, where it's like we're in the same place, so I guess we're pals now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I had the distinct pleasure of going to school with a large crew of people that even to this day I still consider to be some of the dearest friends that I've ever had in my entire life, which is like doubly strange considering the kind of person that I am. And the kind of friends that I've made later in life, that I could like make those kind of connections when I was a teenager, and those connections would persist over the years into my middle age.
Sure.
Every year there's a group of us, about somewhere between 8 to 12 friends, mostly guys. And this is something that we used to do together when we were in school too, is that the guys would get together for a weekend, and we would just dude it up. But like,
what does that mean? Does that mean lifting weights?
Is that a lot of people would be like, dude it up. Okay, so you guys like rubbed Crisco all over yourselves and like wrestled, and then like, somebody was crowned like king and got to wear like a wolf pelt or some shit like that. And no, like we were, we would get together and we would like buy an insane amount of food, and we would like cook tons of pasta, and we would barbecue, and we would like just, like play games, video games, and like watch movies and stuff like that. And like it was just an excuse for us guys to get together and just be guys together, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes like some of the guys got like, it was an excuse to be a little bit more crass than we would be around like our lady friends and things like that, and like, trade musical taste and things like that, and just be together, like it was, we were never really that kind of like high school group that egged each other on and like, made fun and we're just like, let's start a fight club. We would be like, hey, do you guys want to build a trebuchet this weekend? Yeah! And then we would fucking build a trebuchet and like launch fruit into the ocean. And after we graduated, this still kind of persisted. But as life tends to happen, people sort of like wander off to the four corners of the globe, blown by the four winds in whatever direction they have. So it had become increasingly difficult over the years for us to all get together in the same place. And this year we had almost a full house. In fact, like the I want to say the 9 guys that we had together at this get-together this year was the first time the 9 of us had been in the same room together for like 20 years, practically. And we went up and did it at a cabin in a region of the British Columbia interior called the Okanagan, in a town called Peachland, famous, of course, for its olives. And so we got together for a couple of days, and, I barbecued up some ribs for the guys, and one of my friends handmade burgers, in which he used potato chips as a binding agent, which I've never seen before, but they were fucking delicious, and I'm totally going to have to do that. So yeah, at the end of the weekend, on the Sunday, everybody was sort of like going off their own ways, and I had one of the guys that I drove up with, because Peachland is like a 3.5-hour, 4-hour drive from where I live in Burnaby. And one of the guys with me, my friend Mike, He has a fellowship currently at UNLV in Las Vegas. So he was due to fly back to Vegas on Monday morning. And one of the other guys that was with us had flown out from Toronto. Now, his parents live in Summerland, a town adjacent to Peachland. And the plan was originally, I was just going to get in the car with my friend Mike, and we were just going to drive back to Burnaby, the Vancouver Regional District, and that would be that. And boy, is it lucky I didn't. Because instead what happened was Christian's wife, who was staying with his parents in Summerland, was like, hey, would you guys mind if I caught a ride with you guys? I mean, I know that Summerland's in, like, the opposite direction where you're going, but it's, like, 30 or 40 minutes. Would that be okay? And I was like, yeah, no problem. I was driving, of course. So I got in the car, and we drove, like, the 40 minutes to drop Hanson off with his parents. It was good to see his parents. I hadn't seen them in a long time, and it was good to see his wife, Molly. I hadn't seen her in years either. And then we got back in the car, and we started driving home, which took us back through Peachland. Now, by the time we got to Peachland, again, like another 40-minute drive, my instrument panel started to do weird and spooky things. Basically, like, my battery light would, like, flashed on and then off, and I'm like, that's weird. You know, because immediately, like, when that happens, is that you don't necessarily have to leap to the conclusion that there's something wrong with your battery. Maybe there's something wrong with your instrument panel. Maybe there's something wrong with your eyes. Maybe there's something wrong with your brain. Something that I know is a fact, but I just wasn't sure if maybe this was just a new symptom. But then it kept happening more frequently and for longer periods, longer periods. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if this is such a great thing. Like this, like maybe there's something actually wrong. Because during one of its longer presences as a lit light, I realized that my fucking power steering was out. And I'm like, that's not good. So I pull into a gas station and fuel up, which is something that I was going to do for the ride anyways. And, like, park the car, let it, like, cool down, and think about what it's done for a little while. And then after, like, 15 minutes, I started back up again, and the battery still kind of keeps going. So this is like a Sunday afternoon in, like, this lakeside resort town, which has, like, one grocery store, one liquor store, and one wine store, like, next to each other. I'm dead serious. There's a wine store and a liquor store right fucking next to each other in the same goddamn mini mall.
They must either hate each other or love each other.
Well, the thing is, it's wine country. British Columbia wines are actually quite good, right?
Okay.
So when it comes to store space and things like that, especially if you're selling liquor, beer, wine, or, like, ciders and shit like that, you just don't have enough room to stock all the local wines, right? Because they don't have, like, distribution deals with, like, larger wineries or anything like that. So, like, if you want something special and local, you go into the wine store. If you want to get trashed, you go into the liquor store, right? So here we are on a fucking Sunday in this, like, small fucking town that's got, like, one gas station, a liquor store, a wine store, and a pizzeria called Murray's Pizza, which sounds super legit. And then it's like, I grab my car manual and I'm like, okay, like, what does it mean when the battery light's going on? Because I'm thinking to myself, this battery's only like 4 years old. There's no fucking way I need to replace my battery. But if I did, that would be an easy fix. Just, like, take the battery out, put a new battery in. Ta-da! But, like, I look it up, and it's like, when the light comes on, that means that your car is not charging your battery. Like, there's a weird disconnection there. And I'm like, that doesn't sound good. And so we call somebody up who knows more about cars than I do, and we're just like, look, if we get the car started, could we just drive for, like, 3.5 hours if the battery isn't charging? And he's like, no, you don't want to do that, because your fucking cooling system will go, like, you won't have any fucking air conditioning, like, it'd be bad news. So we're like, okay, well, what do we do on a Sunday? And to our rescue, in a small town about 20 to 30 minutes away, called West Kelowna, there's a Canadian Tire. Right? Fucking superheroes. So we drive all the way to this fucking Canadian Tire, and I get there at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that. And we talk to the guy at the desk, and I'm like, this is what's going on with the car. He's like, I don't know, boys. I'm pretty swamped today. Like, I'm really far behind. And I must have looked pathetic. Like, I must have just looked like the little fucking latchkey kid or fucking matchstick girl, or like, just imagine the most pathetic expression you possibly could on your face. And that must have been me, because he tells us, and I was like, do you have any advice for us? And he sits down at his desk and he pokes onto his computer and he see him like clack around a couple of keys, and he goes, you know what, I'm gonna help you out. And that was just like, I was like, I'm saved. My fucking life is saved. Because finally I can get my friend back to fucking the Vancouver International Airport so he doesn't miss his flight to fucking Las Vegas on Monday morning. And like, that day was just a fucking roller coaster. So he was like, okay. He's like, I can't help you. I'm like, aw. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to help you. I'm like, ah. And then he's like, so we're going to run an electrical test. And he comes back and he's like, I think your alternator's fucking shot. I'm like, aw. And then he's like, but it's easily replaceable. I was like, aw. And then he's like, if we have one in stock. I was like, He's like, oh, we've got one. I'm like, ah. And then he goes, okay, so that's going to take us a little while. Why don't you guys go like get something to eat or something like that, and I'll give you a call when it's done. So we F off to just one of the worst fucking Irish-themed restaurants I've ever been to in my entire goddamn life. Sorry, it's just like I got trapped there for a second again. And I get a call like 30 minutes later. And he's like, oh boy, do I have some good news for you guys. I was like, oh. So we just like hit the road. I walk over there again with 2 fucked up feet, by the way, I might add, because I fucked my feet up trying to cliff dive on Saturday. And so, like, my feet are fucking hurting, and I, like, walk over there, and I get there, and he's like, yeah, so, you know, like, I just asked the guys to, like, take another look around to make sure that it was the alternator before we fucking charged it to you, and it looks like your crankshaft pulley was loose, and it threw a belt. And I was like, okay. And then, and he's like, yeah, it's an easy fix, so they're tightening it up right now, and they're going to put the belt back on, and you should be good to go in, like, 10 minutes. I was like, nice! And then 10 minutes later, he comes out, and he goes like, I spoke too soon. And I'm like, oh. So it turns out that, and I'm going to get all technical here, because I don't know a fucking thing about cars. Like, zero. So the thing is that the key that holds the crankshaft pulley in place was gone. Just like in absentia. Just disappeared into the ether. A ghost stole it. Bigfoot took it. It was beamed up by aliens. Nobody has any fucking clue. And the damage that I've done to this fucking crankshaft pulley while driving around without this fucking key, I've shaved off like almost a 1/4 inch of this pulley. Like, it will not stay in the fitting it's supposed to go. So I'm like fucking clueless. I'm like, so can I drive this for like 3.5 hours and nothing bad will happen, right? And he's like, no, you will completely fuck your car beyond recognition. I was like, so what are my options? And he's like, well, I have to call around some auto yards to see if I can get a replacement crankshaft pulley for you. I was like, oh, okay. He's like, which I won't be able to do until tomorrow because they're all closed today as it's Sunday. And I'm like, okay. So Mike and I go outside with our fucking, you know, like, weekend bags in our hands. And Mike's like, what the fuck are we going to do? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. So, like, he calls his dad, and his dad's like, yeah, I suppose I could drive, like, the 4 hours to come up and get you. But by this time, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. And that would be, like, he'd arrive at 9. And then, like, they'd drive back, and it would be, like, at least 1 o'clock by the time they got back home. And he's got to be up at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning to catch his flight. And then he works also on Monday, so he's like, eh. So he has to travel across town to get to, like, the little rinky-dinky airport that's in this town, so he can fly back to Vancouver so he can catch his flight and, like, get a good night's sleep and everything. I, on the other hand, have a car that's stuck up on struts in Canadian Tire. Both my feet are fucked up because I like to jump off tall rocks into cold water, apparently. Although it's funny, I didn't hurt my feet doing that. I hurt my feet climbing. So, good for me.
Were you not wearing shoes? Or
No, I was naked.
Oh,
no,
nice.
I had a swimsuit on, but like,
all right.
I mean, I may as well have been naked. You could see everything, Leon.
Okay.
It was all clingy and stuff.
Nothing's left to the imagination.
Oh, nothing. Like, you could see it all.
Oh.
It's like it was just out in the open, just water, just clinging to me, right? So I'm like, okay, I guess, I'll wait until tomorrow. Do you guys have any, like, hotels within walking distance that won't hurt? And yeah, they did. They had this, like, this fucking motel that was, like, just a block and a half away or so. And so I hobble over there and get myself a room and, bed down for the night and eat a bunch of leftover food that I brought with me from this get-together. And I was like, they'll get the crank tomorrow, and then it won't be a problem. And I get a phone call in the morning that's like, hey, I called an auto wrecker yard. They've got a crank for me. I don't know when it's going to be here, though. I was like, so like today? He's like, yeah, probably. So I'm like, okay. Thanks. So I call the front desk. I'm like, yeah, so I might not be able to leave today. And they were like, no problem. Like, if you have to go, then we can just charge you like a half day. If you need to stay, then let us know. I was like, yeah, okay, I'll call you when I hear from the guy who's working on my car. And so they got the part quite late in the day. They didn't have time to install and test it, so I had to stay there another day. And that's the story of how I lived in a small town for round about 3 days and tried Arby's for the first time in my life.
Oh,
yeah.
How was it?
Salty.
I heard they have the meats. Can you confirm or deny that?
They had something resembling a meat. Because I went, I went through the drive-through because I decided to get it on the way out of town because I was like, look, if this gives me diarrhea, I want to do it in the privacy of my own home. So I went through the drive-through, and they were like, hey, new special on, like, try a brisket sandwich. I was like, I will try a brisket sandwich. I'm not convinced it was brisket. I think it was just, like, bacon that somebody had dipped in, like, brisket-ish sauce.
Yeah.
Except, like, not even, like, crispy bacon, like, wet bacon, like, damp bacon, like, moist bacon, You know when, like, bacon's not quite cooked properly? Like, you're sure that it's cooked, but you're like, that's not properly cooked. That's like...
I actually don't mind that.
That's okay, But, like...
That's me.
But then, like, if I... Imagine I dip that in, like, a beef flavor, like, mixture.
Oh.
And then, so, like, you had just, like, super thinly sliced bacon that was, like, reminiscent of beef. That's kind of what it tasted like. That's what was...
Yeah.
I'm still not convinced that was actually beef brisket.
Yeah.
And...
I've lived in a small town twice in my life, neither sort of, like, by choice.
So did you eat the Arby's?
I'll eat Arby's now. Like, I don't care. I mean, not a lot. Like, I'm not, it's not, like...
Do you have a go-to meal? Is there, like... Because James, former Blistered Thumbs friend, was, like, standing hard to be like, get the chicken cordon bleu. And I was like, well, I don't know, James. Like, that's your move? Is that your, like, that's your signature flourish? Is that your finishing move?
You're, if you go to Arby's, you're going to want to have roast beef, and you're also going to want to have curly fries.
That's the thing. He was also like, I go for the chicken cordon bleu unless they have a good meal on the beef and cheddar. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll think about that. But then I saw, like, brisket, and I was like, that's beef. I'll give that a go. Only I'm not convinced that was what I ate.
You gave Arby's too much credit. You got to go with when you go to fast food, you got to go with something that's, like, idiot-proof.
But, like, how hard is it to, like, get brisket, cook brisket, and then serve brisket and be like, this is brisket?
I only kind of even know what it means.
That seems idiot-proof to me.
Okay. All right.
It's not like fish, Like, it's not like, going to a place and ordering fish and being like,
Well,
Was this freshly caught? No, it was
Right.
not. Go home. And then like the lady offered me horseradish, right?
oh,
I was like, she's like, would you like anything with that? I was like what? And she's like, oh, ketchup, mustard, horseradish. I was like, horseradish? That sounds great. So she's like, how many packets? I was like, give me 3 or 4. So she throws like 4 packets of horseradish into the bag.
Nice.
Right? And I was like,
Yeah.
sweet, horseradish. That's a step up. So then I finally get the bag open and I look inside and there's this little packet of something that reads on it, horsey sauce. And I was like, what?
legally distinct.
That's that's like the very fact that you can't just write like horseradish on it, that you have to call it horsey sauce. I was like, that seems suspect.
They can't
It's like
legally
when-
call it horseradish unless it involves like 40% real horse.
Yeah, that and at least 15% radish.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, so that
Jesus.
like, and it was, you know what the weirdest thing about me living in small town British Columbia for fucking like 3 days is? I had like 6 people swipe right on me on Bumble
Nice.
in
So-
like 3 days. I was a hot commodity in this.
They were
town.
just trying to get your horsey sauce.
They were trying to get my horsey sauce right from the tap, if you know what I mean.
Well, Johnny, here's the thing. Hot is relative. It is. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but like,
Leon,
us-
we've already established that I am a handsome man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Johnny's
yeah,
like a
you're-
perfect 10 on those podcasts, but in LA he's like a 6.
Yeah.
like I'm going to LA later this year, and my first thought was like I need to lose 10 pounds. So
Or
yeah,
Leon, or
Yeah.
you need to gain like 80.
what?
Because then you'll be a character actor.
I'm not going to LA to be discovered. I'm going there on business.
I recognize that, but people would look at you and be like, that guy must be a character actor.
You could gain 80 pounds of pure muscle or 80 pounds of dick, and you'll draw an entirely different crowd.
There you go.
Okay.
See, like it depends on like where you want to apply that 80 pounds.
Fair enough.
And that having been said, Leon, you can apply your 80 pounds to me any day.
I'm scared.
Thank you for that.
I
cool.
even matched with somebody actually because I got so bored on day 2 that I was watching an episode of Magnum PI that was on a television network that permanently has descriptive audio on.
Okay.
So I was lying in bed watching a descriptive audio version of Magnum PI and just fucking around on Bumble, and I matched with somebody, and I was like, sorry to break hearts and run, Natalie, but I'm blowing town, sweetheart. And I don't know if I'll ever be back again.
Did you say it in a Humphrey Bogart voice?
We had something special.
Oh my god.
And then I blew town and I bought a souvenir and some RVs. And then and I never looked back.
Sorry, baby, I'm a rambler. I'm a wanderer. I can't stay here. Also, are you going to finish those curly fries?
Exactly. Austin, you've read my moves book.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
You have to get them into an emotionally vulnerable place before you try to swoop in on the food.
Absolutely. Like you can't just lead with, can I have some of those curly fries? By the way, I'm skipping town. Don't
Yeah.
worry, baby. I'll always remember you.
Because I'll put up a defensive posture.
Can you pass the ketchup?
If you wanted to be vulgar, you could have said, I came to this town for a crankshaft, but you won't get it.
Come on. That's like something I would say. Leon, that's not your
up.
character. You're acting out of character.
I know, but there it was, and I had to go for it since you didn't.
Of course, you could wrap that around and be like, listen, sweets, if you ever find yourself in my neck of the woods, I'll crank your shaft any day of the week.
It doesn't really work the other way.
That doesn't work the other way at all, but okay.
Or you can crank my shaft,
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to stop being gross?
I'm an equal opportunity shaft cranker. Is just what I'm trying to say. You crank my shaft, I'll crank your shaft. Shaft's getting cranked everywhere.
That's fair. Yeah, you got to be open-minded about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. I was a small town boy for almost 3 days, 3 full days or so. 2.5 more like. 2.5 days. So, Leon, tell me about UFOs.
Okay, so this is dumb, but this will take like 10 seconds to explain. Look, this is sort of cringy to learn about me, but it's also just part of like my brand and what I have to do to keep in business.
You Google yourself.
I don't Google my name. I Google the name of my show.
Yeah, of course.
Google the name of my show once a week and do the where it says in past week who has said the phrase Renegade cut, and 99 times out of 100 it's about my show and not about anything else because I feel like I've nailed it down. So someone posted an article on a progressive Canadian website, or so it said.
What was the website name?
I legitimately do not remember. I just remember that's how it was described.
Okay, I'm gonna. While you explain this, I'm gonna Google it myself.
Try for it. So there was, and someone basically wrote a short article about a video essay I did about Arrival, in which I discussed the hypothetical scenario, much like in the film, of coming into contact with extraterrestrials, and what would our ethical requirements be for something like that. And how will we totally fuck it up? And they says, Leon Thomas, the creator of this video and UFO expert.
It's on a website called like www.agoracosmopolitan.com. But then it does say here, it says The Canadian, Canada's progressive national newspaper.
Yeah,
but then
yeah,
if you actually look at like the tech, like the fucking the categories of stuff that you can like look up here, they've got home, relationships, entertainment, cars, foodies, careers, homes, books, business, ecotech, music, UFO exopolitics. Editorial, learning, and arts. Like UFO exopolitics isn't even like the exclamation mark at the end. It's like in between music and editorial.
I didn't look that deeply into it. I just wanted to screen grab that one thing and make a joke about it on Twitter. But yeah, this website thinks I'm a UFO expert. No, my interest in this topic was like the one of the branches of philosophy is ethics, and I wanted to discuss the ethics of this completely hypothetical situation because it might be fun and and educational kind of. But this website has its own agenda apparently, so thought I was.
This is amazing. Okay, I just went to their homepage. Okay, and I'm just gonna read off the headlines. Okay, to like what they have on their latest news. And I just tell me if you can, in the trends here, if you can spot something a little bit off, okay?
Okay.
So right at the top we have headline news, Noah's Ark, how humans and animals were abducted into this alien universe. And then there's business headline, VR technology to boost online casino gaming growth. Huh. Headline news, Toronto mayor tells Doug Ford to stop cuts. Headline news, Toronto to get $25 million to fight gun violence. UFO exopolitics, was missing Malaysia Airlines flight abducted by aliens? Jesus. And then there's like a subcategory here of UFO exopolitics that reads, this is yours, researcher explains the ethical dimensions of alien contact.
Look, I am a researcher,
yes,
but
I recognize that. I'm not coming down on you. Okay, that's not my judgment. Okay, we have sub-articles here that did aliens influence Nikola Tesla? Minivan-sized UFO seen shooting past SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket launch. PhD Michael Heiser explains alien abduction experiences. And then we have lifestyles. Are you a cocktail connoisseur? Here's how you can enjoy cocktails even more. Finding a suitable rehab center. Bags made out of plants could solve plastic pollution, suggests Indonesian company. Want to try tarot reading online? Here are a few great options. Health. FDA uses aborted babies to make mice with human immune systems. Low vitamin D increases chance of lung disease. If you are obese, crash diets may kill you. I love this one. Aluminum linked to dangerous toxicity.
Jesus.
Yeah,
okay.
so that's that's
I'm not looking forward to any subscribers who came specifically from that website in the same way that I get a lot of Rob Ager's backwash coming into my channel. So we'll see how that shakes out. I mean, thank you for plugging my show. I do appreciate it.
It's apparently a not-for-profit newspaper too. They claim to be not-for-profit.
But yeah, but no, I'm sorry. I'm being a dick. Thank you for plugging my show, even though you've completely misrepresented who I am and what I was doing and trying to accomplish. But like, whatever. It still hits. And so there's that. I probably should talk about the thing I actually did this week, which was protest Nazis.
That's right.
Yeah.
All 25 of them.
Yeah, here's the thing. Unite the Right won last year was a monstrous event with like tons and tons of terrible white supremacists who got together with tiki torches, and at least one of them is a murderer. And the rest of them are still horrible people. And a lot of violence happened, and there was a lot of conflict, and there was that. And the people of the town were not having it. Fast forward a year later, and the same person, Jason Kessler, who I'm going to talk about a lot in a minute. Just give me a second.
An absolute gem of a human being.
Just a piece of... Also just really bad... You know what? Here's the thing. He's a bad person, but he's also just a bad Nazi. Because if he were a good Nazi, he would know about propaganda and optics. Mm-hmm. The Nazis were all about that.
Yeah.
Oh God. So,
I mean,
but he was like,
they didn't start with like join the Nazi party, kill some Jews, maybe.
Yeah, they were really good about trying to latch on to what was popular at the time, which is why some people mistakenly still think Nazis were socialists. They were trying to do a lot of things, and they were also good like visually at their propaganda. And he, in his infinite wisdom, decided to just hold a rally 1 year later, the one that everyone knows was evil, mm-hmm. and call it the same thing, but two. And obviously, everyone was not having that.
And he's not even a very good dresser either.
He's not great. Thousands upon thousands of not Nazis showed up to counter-protest.
I think we can even go a little farther than calling them not Nazis, Leon. I think we can call them like anti-Nazis.
Sure. So people who don't like the Nazis, which should be everyone, you would think, showed up. It seemed
reasonable. It seemed so reasonable 10 years ago.
Yeah. They showed up in D.C., and I also made a long drive down and went there. Here's the thing. Not only was this incredibly ill-conceived from an optics standpoint from the get-go, but also he was unable to convince a lot of Nazis to join him on this because anti-fascists have made Nazis a little bit afraid of showing their faces.
Scaredy pants.
Showing up.
They're a bunch of scaredy pants.
Well, I mean, and frankly, they should be at this point because they know that there is a very vocal and sometimes intimidating resistance to their ideology now. So everyone who is like, we shouldn't stoop to the Nazis' level and be so intimidating and shove them, and it's like, you know what? Actually, we kind of should.
Yeah.
If all of that pushing and shoving and punching that one guy, had a very, very negative end result and consequences, I would be like, also, this is having a negative effect. But here's the thing. The consequences are there. Even other alt-right figures have very publicly said, yeah, the reason I don't do public events anymore is because I'm afraid of getting punched and getting hurt by anti-fascists. And it's like, yeah, like... The thing, we can have a long debate about the ethics of punching Nazis, even though I don't think it's that complicated. But the consequences are evident. Even coming from the mouths of the Nazis themselves, who hate to admit it, but think that by saying this, they're going to paint the other side as being too violent, and it's like, whatever. You didn't show up. Anyway, I'll give you my rundown of what I did there, which because of such a small turnout of Nazis, wasn't a lot. I showed up in DC, the speaking event at Freedom Plaza, which is like a couple blocks away from where the Nazi event was happening later that afternoon. Started at noon. I got there at like 10:30 because I wanted to sit on a bench and not have to stand the entire time. So I got there and I sat on a bench, and I basically Forrest Gumped it. I just talked to whoever sat down next to me on the bench. I met some cool people and like maybe one not cool person. And like straight up mask wearing antifa militants were there, and they were very nice and cool actually. I don't know if that like shatters anyone's illusions, but they seemed cool, and they were just there to do the thing that they believed they should do. I shook hands with one of them.
What, you mean like fight fascism?
Yeah, I know. Some people think one thing about them, and it's like, whatever. I don't need to have that debate. The point is, these were all fine young men and women, and I shook hands with one of them because he was trying to convince me that he was like talking to people around who were like maybe had some misgivings about them being there, and he kind of looked to me and he was tried to explain that he's just doing what he thinks he's right, and it's like, you don't like. I mean, I'm not hardcore like you, but I feel you. You don't even have to explain. So we're good. I shook his hand real quick.
And he was like, high five, broheem.
Yeah, I didn't want him to be nervous around me, so I just kind of like, let him know it's fine. You do you. It's cool. Then hours went by, and we marched, and the march was fun. Got some good exercise, and we chanted things. And then we got to, what is it called? I can't remember. It's a small plaza very, very close to the White House. They wanted the Nazis wanted to do this right in front of the White House.
Because that's where they feel the most supported, of course.
Exactly. There were more police officers protecting the Nazis than there were Nazis. There were more journalists there to cover the Nazis than there were Nazis. It was pathetic. You guys, probably don't think too much about this, but back in the 80s and the early 90s, there was a wrestling show on Saturday mornings called Superstars, and instead of having matches between like the big wrestlers, they would have matches between like a big name wrestler like Mr. Perfect and just some guy that they grabbed off the street. Well, not off the street, but like a guy who works at like a local independent promotions or regional territories, and the outcome was always clear. It was always this incredibly one-sided affair, basically just to make Mr. Perfect look good. That's what came to mind when I saw this. I'm like, this is the most like one-sided thing I've ever seen. This is a squash match. This is embarrassing for your side. But here's the thing: even though like we didn't have much opposition, everyone still kind of had a good time. We were all kind of hanging out and like drinking bottles of water and talking about radical politics and stuff, and it was nice. We had a good time. It started to rain. I hung out a little while later. By like 5 o'clock, I had been there like pretty much all day. It's like, I'm done now. There's nothing else to do, is there?
Except smash the system.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, it was fine. Like there were like scuffles, I guess you could say, between protesters and the police or media. I'll pour a 40 out on the street for someone's poor broken camera. They cried so much about that on Twitter.
Who?
That's basically.
You don't have to like subtweet here and say a name or something like that, but like a journalist got their camera fucked up.
Yeah. Basically, not in DC, but in Charlottesville the day prior. Journalists were covering anti-fascist protesters, just trying to show of support for the woman who died, and also
Heather Heyer, right?
Yeah, and the cause in general. And some of the media were, if you'll look at their timelines, tweeting sort of like not nice things about them. Mm-hmm. One of them called their presence there ugly. And that same person who tweeted that was following around some people, and obviously protesters like, "Hey, get away from me, get away from me. I don't want to be recorded." And of course, legally they can record you because it's like
hey,
public,
I think I've actually seen that video.
Yeah, and the clip that you do see is a guy saying, "Hey, like fuck off," and like pushing the camera aside. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying like that was necessarily a good thing, but also like, I'm sorry, but like it's been like exaggerated. It's like, oh my god, he murdered the camera. These violent protesters. Like, maybe fuck off a little. I don't know. I wouldn't have done it. That's not my. That's I don't really get angry. I don't lose my temper like that. So I understand, but also fuck off. That's my nuanced opinion on that. That is pretty much all I have to say about that. I did see a girl there that I found very attractive, and that's kind of rare for me to be like have a crush on someone.
Aww.
Yeah. I didn't do anything with it. Like I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, I've had a crush on 2 women in the past 3 years, like that don't even know their names, and that's the extent of how rare it is for me to be like romantically interested in anyone. It was a nice feeling though. I looked at her like, oh well, okay. There was that. She was an antifa.
Leon, you should have just like walked up and been like, "Hey, do you want to smash my system?"
Yeah. Oh my god. She was really pretty. She had like green medium long hair, which by the way, bad idea if you don't want to be identified. But she had her own agenda. And I don't know if that's my type. Like girls dressed in full body armor with green hair and like jewelry under their eyes.
That sounds exactly like my type, actually.
It's like fuck.
I have a lot of types though, so.
Okay. Yeah, the only other girl I've been attracted to in a way that I've thought about it for more than a second was also kind of a girl who had like, I guess you could say, an alternative look. Yeah, I don't know if that's my thing.
Austin, do you want to get all Dr. Love on Leon here?
Absolutely not. Next question.
Now, if I explained the circumstances of meeting the other girl, Austin would like literally cringe and die. So we won't. We won't even do that to him. I have too much respect for him to do that.
I have no idea what
event?
that could possibly mean.
It was at a wrestling event, wasn't it?
No, it's so much worse. Yeah, I'm gonna let that one go and maybe save that for another episode.
All right.
I feel like I've talked a lot and we haven't really given Austin much of a chance to like.
He's been a quiet boy. Austin, regale us with stories of your sensitive and loving, caring escapades.
Do I have escapades? I don't know. I did a lot of stuff. This show usually is us talking about media, so.
Look, I know, but
Yeah.
it's like, but we all seem to have had escapades this week. I had a small town escapade where I broke hearts and ate some really, 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 really salty almost beef. And Leon met a really attractive anarchist. And now I want to hear from you.
What if I ate some anarchist beef? I don't know what that would mean. That sounds like a euphemism. I don't know. I saw a movie. You guys want to talk about a movie?
Oh,
I like movie. Yeah.
Oh, he's so excited.
You okay?
Because I hope it's a certain movie.
Okay.
Oh, what
right.
movie was it?
BlacKkKlansman.
Oh, it is the movie that I hope.
Yep. Oh, I saw it too. All right.
Cool. So, Johnny, you're very excited. Is that because you saw it also?
No, I like because.
Well, then what the fuck, dude?
Because I was trapped in the interior of BC eating really salty almost beef.
You guys don't have movie theaters in Canada there.
Well, no, we do. It's just that, like, there was a movie theater that was kind of, like, just out of walking distance. Like, I saw it, and I was like, I know that if I go there, my feet are going to hurt. But, like, on the marquee where they usually are like, hey, these are the movies that are playing, it said, and I shit you not, come see a movie.
Just anyone.
Like, I was like, I looked at it because it was by the Arby's. I was walking past the Arby's for the first time because I went and bought a bottle of wine that was brand named Therapy because I was like, if I'm gonna get out of this, I'm gonna need some therapy. And like I got to a road, the highway, which was going to lead me to Butt Road if I went one way. Yes, Butt Road.
Yep.
I had to walk down Butt Road. And I was like, you bet it is.
Okay.
And then in the other direction, there was this like movie theater called like Landmark Cinemas or something like that. And I was like, I wonder what's playing at Landmark Cinemas. And I positioned my head so that I could get a look at the marquee on the sign. And yeah, all it said was, come see a movie. And I was like,
Entertainment in small towns is like so limited that just the idea that anything is happening is enough of a draw.
I didn't want to walk all the way over there with my particularly fucked up right foot, but my left foot was like a little less fucked up, but still in the realm of fucked up, and then get there and discover that they were showing like Hotel Transylvania 3. You know, like if it had been like if I had turned my head off to the right and it was like BlacKkKlansman at 7:00 tonight, I would have been like, yeah, let's go. You know, I would.
I guess they don't rent scooters in small towns.
No, I was walking.
Okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
Austin, tell us what you thought about the movie. I liked it.
I liked it as well. Having seen it recently after Sorry to Bother You, I feel like my bar was very high. We're in an era of a lot of really great films about race. So this was a good comedy from a director whose recent work has been underwhelming, and it is a great improvement for that. So
I'm not even sure. Could somebody refresh my memory about like what Spike Lee's recent filmography has?
I mean,
has
Chirac
included?
is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah,
as the one that people were like, so we're all against this, right? But I don't know. I have mixed feelings on his filmography. So there's some good stuff in there, but this is some of the best stuff. This is, of course, I feel like most people know, a true story about a black man who infiltrated the KKK. And I actually went and researched the differences between the story in the movie and the real thing, which was revealed in like 2006. And there is some exaggeration and Hollywood flourish. The big explosive climax didn't really happen.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
This happened in 2006?
It was revealed in 2006.
No, it was revealed
Oh,
in
okay, I see.
2006.
All right.
It takes place in like the 70s.
Yeah, they moved it a couple of years. I'm not exactly sure why. I think probably just like music and cars.
Yeah, that's a fair artistic choice. I'm down with that.
Yeah, and so it's a pretty funny movie. The leads are very charismatic. I mean, the situation is just so ludicrous. It's basically that Dave Chappelle sketch, but over the phone. Yeah, I liked it. Leon, did you have any more specific thoughts?
Oh, I loved it. I haven't seen a great many of Spike Lee's movies. That's always been kind of like a blind spot among like much talked about American directors. I should have seen more, but I just hadn't. And this seemed like a good opportunity because people are saying, "Oh, this is like his best in so long." I'm like, "All right." And me and my friend went and saw it. And we both loved it. She may have cried at the end because that ending where we switch very abruptly from the 70s to the right now times and unite the right one, oddly enough, it wasn't jarring in a bad way. It was just like, oh, well, I mean, in case it wasn't clear. This is all relevant now. There's also like bits and pieces in the movie prior to the like. By the way, this is explicitly about Trump part. Like in the movie, there's a conversation between the detective who infiltrates the KKK and a white sergeant, and the white sergeant is very clearly talking about a possible future where a man like Donald Trump could be president, and I can't remember. I'm feels like shit. I can't remember the name of the protagonist, but the protagonist says like, I don't know if white people would be that dumb, and then the sergeant is like, for a black man, that's a little naive.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Frankly, it was a little corny. Like, I don't know if it worked for me exactly, but there's the parts where like David Duke is like, America just needs to find its greatness again, and stuff like that. There's like a room full of people chanting America first, which is anachronistic. That was a Reagan era slogan, and this takes place during the Nixon campaign.
I was fine with that. I was fine with that. I don't need this to be historically accurate. I cared about this being the thing it meant to be about, and I was into it the entire time. I pretty much liked it right all the way through. Also, the conflict between the protagonist and his girlfriend about black attitudes and even just public attitudes in general about the police is like an internal conflict and monologue that goes on in my head a lot. Actually, I mean, obviously not as much as it would for an African American, but it is like a thing I think about a lot about my dual opinions on like the necessity for order and my complete disdain for the police as an institution in America. It's
yeah. I mean, the movie is about the police trying to infiltrate the KKK. So the police are ostensibly the good guys, and one of the characters is uncomfortable with that, which is, I think, a pretty smart recognition of tensions in the system. And also, there is a kind of token racist cop who is busted in a laughably improbable scene, which did not happen in real life.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Actually.
It was a bad scene. I get where they're going through. It was catharsis because in the real story, there was no big bust. There was no big shootout. There was no the heroes swoop in and save the day. They just tricked a bunch of fools into giving them information, and then they went home. So they had to add a bunch of cathartic climaxes, and they both were goofy.
Yeah, here's the thing. I when the goofier of the two climaxes, meaning the microphone catching the racist cop, like explicitly saying what he did, and then everyone else on the force being like, "Yup, we must stop him now," all at once. At first, I was like, "This is too neat." And then there's like this like musical montage, and I was like, everyone is way too happy. Something bad is definitely must happen, or maybe he died and this is a dream. and then, but to me it's forgivable because like a minute later, the white police captain or commissioner or whoever says, "Yeah, we're burying this. No one must ever know about this. This is the end of this investigation. We will do absolutely no more of this, and you will stop right now." And everyone's like, "Well, this is bullshit," and it is, and it was in real life. I also read about comparisons between what really happened and what happened in the movie, and apparently, the police says after a while they said, "This needs to stop and also destroy all records of this for reasons."
Yeah, it's like implicit because they never just like, "Here's the reasons, guy." But it seems that because they got so deep in the KKK, they were rising up to really high leadership. They basically were like in charge of the entire like KKK in the area. And they realized like, hey, if this leaks, the headline is going to be Colorado police control KKK for like entire region, which is an extremely bad look. So we need to just pretend like this didn't happen. So it's an optics thing apparently, but
I guess, or I mean, all right, that's fair. But the point is, like, since that downer ending happened right after the improbable uplifting ending, I forgave the improbable uplifting ending because that seemed like, oh, okay, everything's too happy, and here's where everything turns to shit.
I got it. Like you have to make a movie for an audience, and the actual ending, which doesn't really have narratively anything to do with the rest of the film, is just footage from the Unite the Right rally, which it was a shocking swerve and very powerful. But they had to do something to kind of send you out with, fury in your heart for the continuing, injustices in the world, because otherwise the story is black man tricked white man into thinking he was also a racist. And that's wild, isn't it? Anyway, see you later.
Yeah. The movie, that's another reason why I can forgive the improbable Hollywood ending to like the narrative part of the movie, because then it got super real and sad. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like that seems okay. To me,
I'm looking at Spike Lee's filmography now, and I think the last movie of his I enjoyed was 25th Hour in 2002. So it's been 16 years for me personally.
That's said to be among his best, but I still haven't seen it.
Old Boy in 2013 was an utterly needless movie, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't poorly made. It just didn't need to exist because the original is extremely good.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, I guess that's how I feel about that.
yeah, it's a good movie. I liked it.
I just wanted to quickly come off to the side. Did you guys hear about the... I think I've told you that story about the Canadian Secret Intelligence Service agent
Yeah.
that helped found, like, the Canadian neo-Nazi group, the Heritage Front.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And he just absconded.
Well, this is apparently one of the things, is that we have learned very recently, apparently, that he did not. That he was busted by an American, or not an American, by a Canadian newspaper, who was like, "Oh, what the hell? This guy's a secret agent for Canada, but he's like, he helped found this like neo-Nazi group," and he was like, "Nope, left ceases. Yep, total neo-Nazi. Love the whites. They're my boys." But then apparently, like many years later, he came out and was like, So no, I was kind of like always working for them at the time, actually. So yeah, he but like for years, myself included, thought that this like secret intelligence officer had left the security service
Triple
to like
agent.
Yeah.
Oh, it reminds me. Another thing is one of the many improbable ends of this story was that the protagonist reveals to David Duke, who is, once again, the audience should be reminded, a real ass person who is still alive and being awful and is Donald Trump's friend, the head of the KKK at the time. He reveals the deception, like, "Ha, I got you, you dumb ignorant cracker."
Right.
In real life, he did not find out until the story broke in 2006, 30 years later.
Yeah.
Which is bananas. How fucking stupid must he have felt that whole time? And then now there's a movie of him getting fucking dunked on. And also Topher Grace makes an amazing David Duke. They nailed that casting. He's such a weaselly little shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked some of Topher Grace's off-cast kind of roles, this one, and especially in Predators.
I knew it. He gave away the twist. That casting, I knew what was going to happen, and that diminished my enjoyment a little bit, but the movie was extremely well made. Predators. I enjoyed it.
I'll be honest, I was just happy to be watching movies at the time. I saw Predators because I was living in Montenegro at the time, and I was just like, and when Topher Grace turned into be like what he was, I was like, oh shit, Foreman, what? I was very excited. It was a bad time in my life. I didn't want that to be clear, so that might explain that. Anyway,
but we all love you now, Leon, and it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Now my brain will never turn off. I have two more things I want to say about Nazis, and I'm gonna shut up.
God, so much Nazi talk this week, right?
Can't help it. By the way, I realized like some
does
white
Arby's count
supremacist
as Nazi talk?
Jesus. Some white supremacist in who listens to this, because there's always one, is going to say something like, the Klan and neo-Nazis are totally different. I don't care. I don't care about your dumb like differences. You're all cut from the same cloth.
I just want to say to that guy, "Hi, asshole, fuck off."
Yeah.
I thought you said they're all cucked from the same cloth.
It reminds me of that episode of Orange Is the New Black, where one of them says, "I'm not a neo-Nazi. I'm a white nationalist," and they argue about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, not the point. The point is this: at the rally, someone was dressed in a One Punch Man cosplay. You don't see a lot of cosplayers at serious rallies, but one of the people who was not a Nazi decided to dress as One Punch Man, but with a rainbow cape.
I mean,
and I have never seen that show. I have never seen that show, but I appreciated the effort a lot.
Fucking
it
marvelous.
sends such a strong message.
And you should watch that show, Leon. I think it might actually be one of those anime you like.
Okay. The other Nazi thing I want to talk about is the fact that I said something along the lines of the thing I said earlier about the fact that whether you agree with punching a Nazi or not, apparently it has good results because and all that. I said more or less that on Twitter, except I may have said it a little more eloquently there than I did here because I'm stumbling on my words. And I used the Unite the Right to hashtag. And of course, that's going to bring in actual Nazis into my mentions. But it's like, whatever. I don't care. And a Nazi came into my comments and says, Nazi is a slur. It's a slur against white. It's a slur against white people. And I can't remember exactly what I responded to. But then I said something like, oh, so everyone you disagree with is a Nazi, right? His profile says white nationalist. But he's one of those people who thinks that he's basically a Nazi, but the fact he thinks that if he doesn't call himself that, then he's not one. Like, dude, I don't care that it's a slur. I'm not saying it in like a polite way. So I'm okay if you think it's a slur against you. Like, it's fine.
It's not a slur. It's just short for the German word for national. Also, the guy's probably 12. There's no other explanation.
He was able to use diction that made me think he was not 12, but just monstrous instead.
This reminds me, I was reading an interview with the people, I think it was the guy who wrote the book, the guy who was the protagonist of BlacKkKlansman. He was talking about how the film actually had to make the white supremacists smarter so that they were a legitimate threat to the movie characters. Which, if you've seen the movie, is hilarious because they are so dumb. One of them like can barely speak. There's like a really funny moment where he like turns to a character and tries to talk and is just too stupid to talk. He's like, he literally can't do it. But they had to be smartened up from the real thing, in which they just did not catch on to any of their bumbles, including apparently them using their real names for the sting operation. Like the white supremacists are so vastly stupid. Like they're the Grand Canyon of idiocy. Like you look on it and you're like, how can this exist?
But Austin, don't you know they're the superior race? So like,
Jesus
therefore,
Christ.
every idea they have must be great.
It's funny because I was watching that movie and like every sentence they said had a slur in it, and just like a bunch of them were like, oh, the N word, but then also like old timey slurs you don't even hear anymore, and I was like, wow, really laying on thick there. And then they cut to the Unite the Right footage, and they're saying the same exact stuff, and it's like,
oh yeah,
oh, I guess that cartoony like over the top fucking parody is actually just some of them, huh? They're just out there.
The last Nazi thing I will say is that Jason Kessler, the man I referenced earlier, remember him? Yeah, it's coming around. He was doing a video interview with someone, I think earlier today, and his father, he lives in his father's basement.
I saw this headline.
His father banged on the door and was admonishing him for being in there and also for being a Nazi. Yeah. Jason then tells the person interviewing him that he feels so sorry for his father because he watches the History Channel, and that's propaganda against the Germans or something.
Yeah, the globalist elite who have hijacked the History Channel to show pawn shop reality shows all day.
Oh my god!
To get across their agenda.
Christ. So bad. So anyway, this has been the Nazi cast, and now we should probably go into.
We should definitely not call it that. First of all, well, how far are we into this?
An hour and 4 minutes.
Yeah.
I add 6 more things to this sticky note every week, and we never get to them.
I surprisingly have a lot more things to talk about, but like
We'll mix some stuff in here. I'm going to just take charge. Saritha asks, Leon, do you have any predictions for SummerSlam this Sunday? Parentheses, wrestling.
I have a prediction. Somebody is going to get pinned.
You think so? I mean, there could just be all submissions.
You would think so, asshole.
Look, I'm just making a prediction, Leon.
Fair enough.
Okay.
That's cool.
Look,
just
because my sophisticated heuristics are beyond your understanding doesn't mean I should be dismissed.
Okay, I bet you watch Rick and Morty. Anyway, I will say this. I'm looking forward to the show. I don't do predictions. Like a pool. Like say, I bet this person will win, and I will get 2 points for it. But I will say that I'm looking forward to the show. It is it's a pretty stacked card. It's going to be a very long show. The pre-show is 2 hours long, which will also have matches, and then the rest of the show is another 4 hours long. So I'm basically doing that all day.
Leon, you can just make some out of the box predictions.
Also,
Like,
Leanne, you have to
who's
translate.
going to be wearing the thinnest Ginch?
You have to translate the terminology. So when you say it's a stacked card, you have to say there are a lot of strong muscle boys.
Oh, when I say it's a stacked card, I mean there are a lot of matches with talented performers in it who are paired up with other talented performers, and one expects, due to the build, that these matches will be good.
Strong muscle
for
boys
example,
is what they're called.
Yeah, The Miz is facing Daniel Bryan, who I guess is my favorite wrestler. And they've basically been have had a feud or rivalry that's been going on for 8 years now. Even when Daniel Bryan was retired for like 2 full years, they continued it kind of because like Daniel Bryan was like the host of their the SmackDown After Show, which doesn't exist anymore, and Miz came on, and they got into like a heated, mostly fake argument, but also one that apparently went a little too far. And and everyone wanted to see them wrestle again, but at the time it was like a year and a half before Daniel Bryan could like wrestle again, and everyone thought he wouldn't anymore. But now they.
Who do you think is going to have the most impressive eyebrows?
Ooh, Rusev has a pretty good eyebrow game.
Okay, all right.
It's bushy. He's very hairy.
Best
like
groomed facial hair.
Ooh. You know, I really like Aiden English's facial hair, but I don't think he has a match. I think he will interfere in the Rusev and Lana versus Almas and Vega match.
Who do you think?
So
who do you
see.
think is going to have the sassiest match?
Oh, Alexa Bliss. She's by far the sassiest character in all of WWE.
Yeah, but does that
So
mean
all
it's
of her
going to be the
matches.
sassiest match, though?
It's going to be the sassiest match. She is facing Ronda Rousey, and Alexa Bliss is a great character and excellent on the microphone and just okay in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So she brings a lot of so because of this, a lot of her matches have a lot of like character moments to them rather than like incredible athleticism.
Right.
She tries to cheat to win her matches, and she always finds like fun little ways to do it. The Alexa Bliss, like the person who plays the character anyway, she can kind of like do a thing where it looks like her arm is dislocated, but it's not. And she like sometimes does that to like get the ref on her side, and then like, aha, I'm not actually hurt.
Right.
It's very cool.
Who's going to have the oiliest ripples?
Bobby Lashley. He's made of butts. His entire body is just very ripply.
All right.
All right. I could go on, but it would take forever. But I am looking forward to the show. And that's it. Austin, hit me with another one. Or us, really.
No, you can't tell me what to do. You're not my dad.
Fine.
Austin,
Yeah.
I'm your father.
That explains literally nothing, actually. I was going to say it explains a lot. It super doesn't, because you were like
Yeah.
4 when you conceived me then. All right, let's
Look,
see here.
I had game from a very, very early age, okay?
No, stop. You're raising too many questions. New question. Faltering Footsteps at Nicholas Pens on Twitter asks, did you guys see this Kickstarter for Boyfriend Dungeon?
No.
Which
but tell
I
me about
realize now that Boyfriend Dungeon without context sounds like a totally different thing than what it is.
I think I saw the headline, but I didn't read the story.
it. I want to build a dungeon for my boyfriend. What's there to explain about it?
No, that's not it. It is a video game. Later.
Yeah.
I assumed. Yeah, I was joking. I assumed it was a video game. So what's going on in the video
Okay.
game? What kind of is it a real-time strategy game?
No, it's a Kickstarted game. I think the Kickstarter is going on now. It is a, I guess a dating sim, but presumably with some kind of combat element, because the gimmick is the weapons you wield in the game are hot boys.
Oh.
And so you're in this dungeon, doing RPG stuff, and all your swords are like hot guys, and they're your boyfriends. Yeah, so it's this dungeon crawler I'm looking up now. I'll put a link in the chat, but you can just Google boyfriend dungeon. Probably it's kind of going viral right now. But
So it's like Diablo, but many times hotter.
yeah, I think that's basically what's going on. What
Okay.
what if you could fuck all the Diablo swords or whatever?
What makes you think I don't already?
This guy has like 12 abs. Just an excessive amount of abs, my dude. Anyway, yeah. So, I would play this game. I don't really kickstart things anymore. I feel like that period of my life is over.
It was just a phase, Dad.
Yeah. So that's that. It's a cool game. Check it out if you haven't. That's the answer to that question. New question. Matthew B. Hare asks, I finally played We Know the Devil and I need more queer indie games. Got any recommendations? Boys?
Yeah, Lady Killer in a Bind.
Oh yeah, anything by Christine Love.
Yep.
Analog, we've talked about before. She has a new game called Get in the Car, Loser, which is a road trip with a bunch of lesbians who are going to kill God, I think. Or it's the Machine Devil, and it's a gay road trip to kill the Machine Devil.
Is that a Mean Girls reference?
I assume.
Okay.
There's also that dad dating simulator. That was
Yeah.
I can't remember
That's
the
just
name
called
of it,
Dad. What's that called? Dad dating simulator. What's the name?
No,
of it?
it's not quite on the nose like
Dream
that.
Daddy. Dream
Daddy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also Gone Home, obviously.
Yep.
Okay.
I feel like I just played something.
Life is
recently.
Strange.
Ooh, is that indie? I mean, it's published by.
It is, but I mean, it's not exactly like front of the,
Yeah.
like it's not who published it. I know it's a Don't Nod production.
Yeah,
but,
Square Enix published it.
Yeah, Square Enix. Like it's not part of their front line,
Yeah.
But there's definitely some pretty some great character work in Life is Strange. I haven't played the prequel.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't even know if the sequel's out yet.
No, I don't think so. Speaking of queer stuff, no one asked, but I assume people are going to want Voltron takes. Are we caught up on Voltron?
Yeah, didn't the new season just come out or something?
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet because I was trapped in
Okay.
the interior of BC.
I heard that story.
We can save that for next week.
And I was watching mandatory descriptive audio Magnum PI, guest starring Frank Sinatra.
Was all the description basically just saying he's so cool?
No. But it was a really excited white lady. Like she was into it. It was like
good.
Magnum,
That's what I mean.
It was like Magnum leaps over the low wall and runs to the road. A young man is poised on the pavement, a bus looming over him. Detective Ronci shakes his head. Looks like I'm not going to be able to save him for his parents this time. And then, the music sting happens, and the lady's like, "A police car comes to the scene." Like she was down. I was getting hot.
Okay.
That went in direction.
Magnum PI looks off into the distance, thinking maybe if I could just meet a girl who could describe me just right.
No, he did gaze pensively at a chessboard, though.
Oh, well,
yeah, it was like back at the mansion.
That's basically the same thing.
It was like back at the mansion. Magnum gazes pensively at a chessboard.
There has to be
TC enters.
There has to be an indie movie about a protagonist of one story who falls in love with the narrator who isn't a character but then becomes one. Like that definitely feels like something someone needs to make if it hasn't happened already.
When I was a younger man, I wanted to write a movie called The Other Side of Action Movies, which was just a bunch of 10 to 15 minute long scenes about background characters in famous action movies.
Someone who got their fruit stand exploded and then they have to pick it up and
they just get wasted.
Yeah.
They're just having a day at the mall. They're just fucking hanging out, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando breaks out. Some dude gets grabbed as a human shield, and just and it's about that guy where he's just I just got to get some new sneakers. Rhonda's been riding me lately about how I kind of look like a scrub, and then all of a sudden fucking Arnold appears out of nowhere and grabs this dude and whips him in front of him and gets ventilated.
Dark. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about Voltron. There's some stuff going on there.
I'll get it in by next Wednesday, and then we'll we'll get boners to it.
Okay.
Okay. There's material for
there
it.
There is.
Okay.
I didn't even know it was out. I was informed it was out because I saw spoilers on my timeline of people flipping the fuck out.
Yeah. Someone sent me a Tumblr ask about it. With a mild spoiler.
Both of you guys need to learn the art of not paying attention to anybody.
Like, it's like my world is has to be like constantly laser focused on everything though. It's like I just live on social media now because
I don't know, Leon. I think you could really, really, really benefit from just ignoring everything that I say,
We're
and
being
then just
held
kind of
hostage
like,
by Jack.
and then just kind of expand that. You know,
Okay.
just like
Yeah.
even just at like small periods of time, where like you're scrolling through Twitter, and then somebody is like, "Oh, hell, did you guys see the new broccoli?" And then you just be like, "No, don't care."
So our audience is on notice now. Next episode, we're going to spoil Voltron up to the most recent season.
Oh,
so catch
yeah,
up if you care.
it's gonna be dank.
Okay, next question.
It's gonna be a full frontal dank spoil.
Hot. Cyretha asks, Austin, are you excited for the crossover between D&D and Magic the Gathering? So for every new Magic the Gathering plane, they release like a PDF with stats and information and stuff if you want to play D&D in that Magic plane. But for the Return to Ravnica they're doing this October, they are actually releasing it in book form. So you can buy actual a hard copy version of this crossover because Ravnica is their most popular plane. It's basically Sigil from Planescape, if you've ever played the game Planescape Torment. So it's kind of a plane of existence that's all one big city, and there's like really rigidly defined factions which have like both like political views and like special magics and stuff, and it's a really cool popular thing, and so you can buy a book of that now. Yes, I am excited for the crossover. I'm excited for the actual Magic set, which is going to tie up the storyline they've been doing for the last 10 years, hopefully, or they're getting close to it. And I am going to play a D&D version with my real life friends, not on Dice Funk. Maybe sometime we'll do. I don't know. I've been going back and forth. We've been talking about this on the listener Discord about playing a season of Dice Funk in the Magic universe, because it'd be very cool, but it's also extremely esoteric. They'd be like 8 fans, but they fucking love it. It's like a tiny audience of a tiny niche of a tiny niche of a tiny niche. Anyway, yeah, it's very cool. Also, the book for this crossover has a black woman on the cover, which is very cool. Not something you usually see in mainstream fantasy publishing. Anyway, we could do more questions. Actually, something I want to talk to you guys about this week because we're running low on time.
Sure, hit me.
Do you guys have strong feelings about Talking Heads?
I like them.
No. I mean, I sure a little, but like it's music, so.
Yeah, Leon hates music. I just saw Stop Making Sense for the first time. I feel like I should have seen it a long time ago, and I just had like this epiphany. I was like, Talking Heads fucking slap. I feel like we're not talking about that enough. They really do rule.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a. I think like the problem. Part of the problem that I have is that when you say Talking Heads to anybody who doesn't really know anything about music, they have like maybe 3 touch points. None of them very representative of like the actual body of their work. You know.
So yeah, I mean, their whole thing is they're like an eclectic new wave band of like weird sounds and stuff. But yeah, I feel like when you say Talking Heads, most people think of like 3 songs, usually like Psycho Killer or Burning Down the House or whatever. But they have blues and
I like the song.
Yeah,
I like the song "Nothing But Flowers."
Mm-hmm. It's a good song.
Yeah, someone played that for me like a million years ago when I worked in a record store.
Whoa.
And
Leon,
I know.
How
why
did
didn't
you get
tell
that
me
job?
You were so much cooler now than you used to be just 10 seconds ago.
Yeah, no. But yeah, a lot of it's odd. Like I don't listen to music now, but like a lot of my a lot of the music that I got into eventually was just because like I worked there and people were like, you should listen to this, and that's how I learned about Neutral Milk Hotel. And which their one good album is also one of my favorite albums ever.
Of like the 2 they have.
They had 2 albums. The other one's fine.
Really? Leon, you just keep revealing new layers. You are the Shrek of this podcast.
There's not much to tell. I was there. There is a place in Maryland called Record and Tape Traders, and that is like the cool place that people went to go buy their music. And I was hired at first in their warehouse. I basically worked in the returns department, which sounds boring, and was, but we still got to listen to a lot of music at the time, and that was fine. And then eventually I said, hey, I would like to work in a store. And then I did, and I didn't like it, and they didn't like me not liking it, and that was it.
I just don't know how you can't bop your head to Road to Nowhere.
It's a fine song.
Yeah, there's a lot of good songs. So if you guys haven't ever, I assume people on this call are aware, but for the audience, Stop Making Sense is a pretty famous concert film, like largely considered one of the best concert films ever, even though that's a very specific bar to clear. But it's incredible. There's a famous part where he wears David Byrne, the famous guy from Talking Heads, wears a suit that's way too big for him, and it's fucking hilarious.
Who also has an absolutely banging album with St. Vincent.
Yeah, that's another thing. He's a very interesting person, apparently hard to work with, but just full of manic energy and weird creativity. And he when you watch it, he gives personal credit to all of the different people who are in the band with him, because the whole thing, the film starts with just him alone on stage playing one instrument, which doesn't give you the whole sonic soundscape of the song, but every new song they bring out one new musician and it builds to more complex songs. It's really cool. But he has a bunch of blues musicians, and I mean he's an aggressively white person, but he brings out all of these really talented black artists. He brings out a woman who does some singing for a while, and it's just it creates such an incredible experience watching this film. And it's their work it's just so I calling it underrated is wild because they're a famous band and everyone knows them, but for me
I do believe they've been underserved by the public eye, though.
I don't know, maybe it was just when I was born.
If I underrated, I'm with you there. It's a little difficult to call Talking Heads underrated, but underserved I can definitely get with, because they've never quite reached that status where it's oh yeah, and very possibly one of the best compositional bands of the 1980s. Talking Heads, they kind of get stowed away into that. Here's another wacky band from the 80s, because they only remember those fucking 3 songs.
We named half a dozen, and we didn't even say Once in a Lifetime, which still has the best music video of all time, even better than Michael Jackson's Thriller. Fight Me.
No, it's not the best music video. The best music video of all time is Breaker by Low.
Okay, I don't remember that off the top of my head. I'll have to check it out.
No, because nobody's fucking seen it, but it's the greatest goddamn music video I've ever seen in the entire life, and it's more culturally relevant today than it ever has been, and I'm going to Google it right now, and you're going to watch it later.
Okay, I will. I just wanted to get that in because I just watched that, and it's, it was fresh in my mind. I will say I think my favorite Talking Heads song is The Great Curve from Remain in Light, which it's not a single, it's just an album cut, but it's so good. It's 7 minutes long. Anyway, we are running low on time. Here's a question. Celestial, I cannot pronounce your at Ashkemek, asks, what do you think of Natalie Wynn, parentheses, ContraPoints videos? I've seen her in Lindsay Ellis's videos, and she seemed funny and cool.
Yeah, I've seen all of her videos.
Okay, we got an expert. Everyone move out of the way.
I'm a fan. I love Natalie's videos.
Good.
She's great.
Yeah, she's very good. I stopped watching for a little while, and then I started watching again, and I was like, yeah, she is good. And then I pretty much marathoned everything that she's done.
She's not afraid to be personal about her experiences. She is cool. Level-headed, eloquent, educated, intelligent. I get the impression she's also a very good editor, because her scripts are tight.
Yeah.
They are very, there's very little, if any, fat on them.
Yeah. I saw her at VidCon. I did not say hello. Probably should have. I just felt kind of awkward about it. So that was it. That's pretty much all. I mean, I could go on, but yeah, I would say that I'm a fan. I'm subscribed to her channel, and I clicked the notification bell. That means I must
I never do, but I still watch everybody's videos.
That's fair. I like knowing right away.
Especially yours, Leon, considering how much of a UFO expert you are.
That's true.
Another question here, at Ilmario Walker on Twitter, at Elon Miskey, again, as another Elon Musk.
Yeah.
This it says, parentheses, I swear I'm not a Musk-themed account. This absurd shit just keeps happening. And then asks our feelings on the recent Elon Musk event, in which musician Azalea Banks was invited to Grimes to do some music together, but she could not come to the phone because she was comforting Elon Musk, who was on acid and committing fucking securities frauds on Twitter.
Yeah, just couldn't stop himself from tweeting while on the LSD.
So yeah, he tweeted that he had secured funding to maybe take Tesla private, but Azalea Banks arrived at his house and found him, quote, scrambling for investors, which means he committed fraud on Twitter. So if this was a world with rules that were enforced, he would be going to jail. He almost certainly will not. But
Austin, don't you know that, like, Jack Dorsey is one of Alex Jones's best friends? So...
Oh my god, I cannot with any of these fuckholes anymore.
Hey, you want to hear some good news about Alex Jones that just broke like a couple hours ago?
Mm-hmm.
Still
the
a
FCC
fuckwad?
the FCC just shut down his radio station.
Apparently that's not 100% true. It was a pirate station that hasn't been used in like 8 months or something. It's not like he got shut down. Big government.
He'll never be shut down so long as there are people who are willing to listen to his shit. Yeah. But he has been hit with about $15,000 fine.
$15,000. He'll have to buy one fewer yacht this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that.
But way more soy.
I'm just pleased that anything bad is happening to him, as previously indicated, that anything that bad happens to Alex Jones is probably good.
Mm-hmm. It's never enough. Anyway, new question. Zoxion, at Zoxion1 on Twitter, asks, been a bit since you've done any book recommendations. Got any?
There's so much to read, and so much of it is good, man.
Yeah.
I'm reading something bad.
Uh-oh. What?
Why?
Yeah, I'm reading... Because it's part of my job.
Oh, okay.
It's everything. Almost everything I read these days is related to my work.
I understand that, Leon, but like the question was about book recommendations.
I know, but like I am
morbidly curious though.
I read 1984 and it was good. Like,
it is.
But
it's
I don't
a
feel
great book.
Yeah, I don't feel like I need to explain to people that it was good. I'm reading a bad book called Ready Player One, because I have to talk about the movie, but instead of like just being like, hey, here are some themes and philosophy stuff and politics in the movie, I wanted to make this a bigger episode, so I'm also reading the book. The book, I'm not all the way through. But I'm enough into it that I know the style of the writer and what the writer is trying to achieve. And like there are parts that are engaging enough, like, oh wow, that's nice. I'm glad that a good thing happened to that character, kind of. Like, oh, and I remember that game. But so much of the book is really just listing things. Mm-hmm. See all those like parodies.
You saw the song, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like there's that parody song where it's like, remember this, remember that. Yeah, the book. It's there. It's like a self-unaware parody. This book. There are just huge swaths of parts where it's like, and then she gave me the Star Wars this, and the Star Wars this, and also the Star Wars that. And there's let me put it to you this way. In the book Moby Dick, there's an entire chapter about the color white, but it's like important.
Herman Melville got paid by the word, y'all.
Yeah, I understand, but he still didn't fuck around.
Wait, what's your favorite chapter of Moby Dick? For me, it's between the crotch and the nut.
You need to stop. It's been a very long time.
Those are both real chapters of Moby Dick. Anyway, go on.
I can't even remember. I think I read it in high school. The point is that I just remember that there was this entire chapter that's specifically about that, and people speculate about what it really means and something like that. That's not the point. The point is, I thought about that when there was an entire chapter just about referencing things that Percival was reading reading and learning about in terms of 80s and early 90s culture. It's like, I had to learn everything, and that includes, and then just a long list of stuff. And he says, and in addition to this, I also watched, and then a long list of stuff, and there's like pages go by. It's like, and of course, I obviously read the and it was really just listing things. And for people for whom that's exciting, this must have been just orgasmic. But for me, sitting here, reading through it, but also listening to the audiobook at the same time, because that's a thing I do sometimes. I just like, oh my God, the book is really just like this. It isn't a joke. The jokes about it, like, don't have to exaggerate in any way. There's no hyperbole that could match the reality of this book. And parts of it are not shit. It's just that there's huge swaths of it that are just explaining Lady Hawk trivia. And I cannot deal with it. You would think I would be done reading it by now, but I have to stop every once in a while because I just can't. There's also some like troubling, problematic stuff that I will get into the episode. But in general, just as a book, like distanced from, some stuff that's a little misogynistic. It's just kind of bad. So there's that.
So there we go. Book recommendations. Don't read Ready Player One.
Yeah, read literally anything else. It's fine. By the way, the audiobook is read by Will Wheaton because it just had to be.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's that. I'm sorry. I took us in a different direction that the question asked us, and I'm sorry. We should probably go unless there's one.
I'm still digging on the culture novels by Ian M. Banks right now. As I was trapped in small town British Columbia, the book that I was reading was in a bag that got trapped in the back of my car, so I had to start reading the one that I had with me. I didn't have a bookmark with me, so I just started offhanded reading The Player of Games, which is the second culture novel by Ian M. Banks, and it's just like,
Yeah, I haven't been reading any books, but I've been listening to a new podcast, The History of Rome, made by the same guy who did Revolutions, which I've listened to before. And Roman history is funny because there's only six names.
I think I know this guy. I think a guy one of my friends at work actually listens to that podcast.
It's very good, but it's hard to follow because everyone is either named Agrippa, Augustine, or Nero for hundreds of years, and it's impossible to fucking. How do they do it? No one knows. But yeah, I've been greatly enjoying that, which is kind of like reading a book, but with my ears.
Sure. I could go on and on about a lot of things because I have so much left on my list, but I'll just save that for next week.
No, I'm sure next week we'll talk for 20 minutes about Arby's again.
No, it's fine.
Hey.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was harrowing, okay?
Okay. Two things real quick, and then I'll shut up forever.
Okay. Forever, huh?
My favorite music video is Just by Radiohead.
Oh, that's good.
And
but it's not as good as the one that I just posted.
It's fine. And All White People Are Cops. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
It's true.
Okay.
It's true. I'm a narc. I admit it.
You're under arrest, Leon.
Yep. Oh, I know. I knew it. All right.
Gunshots. Just editing gunshot noises.
No. Let's go. On three.
Wait, I have one thing to say before we go.
Oh no.
Please do.
I usually just wait.
That's
wait
fine.
until it's like anybody have anything to say, but I got one thing left to say. I did a heroic thing this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah. One of my buddies had recently discovered the Red Pill Reddit subreddit.
Oh, God.
No, and this is the thing, is that, like, off the bat, he was like, yeah, this is stupid nuts. Like, this guy has, 2 daughters, and he's always been, like, one of the most sensitive guys that I know. He saw this, and he was like, this is fucking hilarious. I kind of, like, jumped in on him, and I was like, let me give you a brief 1-hour history of the alt-right and Gamergate and Red Pill and, incels and MGTOWs and shit like that. And while we were talking about this, one of the guys pops up and just goes, fuck, that sounds a lot like, oh, I had this friend. This friend was talking to me about this dude. I think his name was like Jordan something. Jordan, and I was like, Jordan Peterson? He's like, yeah, what about, I was like, okay, before we leave this weekend, you guys all have to fucking make me a promise. They were like, what? I was like, you don't fucking Google, you don't go on YouTube, you don't fucking, like, read a book, you don't ask anyone, you don't ever say the fucking name Jordan Peterson to anybody in your life, and if you ever hear anybody say it to you, you fucking run or you punch them in the face. And they were all like, whoa. I was like, no, promise me, or I will bleed on you.
Fuck.
And everybody shut up. Everybody was like, okay. And I was like, I saved them. I saved those men this day.
Yeah, unless they thought you were using reverse psychology.
No.
I hope not.
They know I'm fucking serious. Like, I will bleed in their food in front of them.
Jesus Christ. Wow, that's quite an image, so let's leave immediately.
Now that your rose